everybody? Good. All right, ready? The Lord is good all the time, right?
Amen.
Let's see here. While I'm bringing up my stuff here, let's see here. You guys can go to Acts chapter 8. So we've been discussing the spirit realm or spiritual world, but what I'm doing right now is addressing the impact of it psychologically. And we're coming to the place of being able to have a remedy, a resolve to how we deal with this stuff. So the fact is there's a lot of emotional wounds and hurts that people face in life that come from, I would, when you think about, that's why I titled it, and this is one word, right? Cesspool? Yeah, so one word here, sorry. Cesspool of emotional wounds. This segment of it, this subtopic, okay? Emotional wounds. Well, we don't come into the world with emotional wounds. We come into the world with a clean slate. Our minds are clean. Then we start experiencing, we could experience some negativity as we go along in life. So everyone faces disappointments, whether you're living a good life or not. And when it comes to the disappointments in life, where do they come from? They come from what you know is right. You know is the right thing. And it doesn't happen. So when it doesn't happen, what do we call that? Disappointment. So there's great expectations for what we want in life, and we're born that way. We're born with the idea of accomplishment, doing something, drive. We have intent and purpose for our lives. So when that's not met, then we begin to face discouragement. And this is why Joshua, being led by his leader, Moses, and coming to the place where he's going to start leading the people, that was a great task. And it was a multitude of hundreds of thousands of people that he's going to be leading. And the one thing he asked God is, give me direction, give me guidance. And God said to him, stay focused on what I've said to my servant. Everything that I've told him, I'm telling you to do. Moses may not have been able to cross over, but there will always be somebody that will take his place. You may not be the one. There may be someone else that will be taking the spot that you're paving. You're working. You're creating this foundation. There's always trailblazers as life goes on. And you may be in that position. Then there will be the ones who will step on into those, as it were, those shoes to carry on what God has put in that person. There's going to always be someone there. So never be discouraged about what you do in life. Amen. It's not in vain. What you're doing is sowing. And every time you sow, you're increasing yourself as well as the lives of other people. It may not, did Abraham ever see the seed that God promised him? No. He never saw it. And all these visionaries that had words. Think about Noah. Noah was told to build an ark when there was never rain before. Something being done that God said is going to take place because the plan of redemption is in motion. So something's going to take place. So just know this, that there's a spot for every single one of you. It's what God says starting with Adam. What does Eden mean? Spot on the earth. It was the crib for the baby Adam, and that birthed a whole human race. One man changed the world. Jesus Christ came and turned the then known world upside down. One man, one person. That's all it takes. So, where are you? Where are you? Are you ready? What's the word? I am. I'm here, Lord. Use me. We got to have this passion, guys, for people.
Absolutely. Amen.
You can't lose it because you get caught up in stuff.
Yeah.
You got to let it go.
Yep. It's true.
Got to let it go.
Good.
It's, I know I'm emotional right now about it, but it's what you have to have in order for lives to change.
Yeah. It's true.
How many people are hurting today
Too many.
that we need?
Yeah.
God has you.
Absolutely.
God has us. Say, here I am, Lord.
Here I am.
I'm ready.
Ready.
I'm ready. So, are you ready? Yes. Okay. Check it off. Okay. Are you ready to go?
Yes. Yes.
Ready to go with where you are. So that's the word of the Lord, because the Spirit of God is speaking right now. This is not in my notes. This is from the Spirit of God. That there are phases. There's transitions
Yeah. Yes.
in life. People who will be put in place to guide you and give you that step, that launching pad for you to go.
Yes.
Go into all the world and preach the gospel,
Yes.
the good news of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going, guys, on this. Okay? So yes, we got to get past all this.
Yeah.
This is poisonous. So let's go to Acts, so that way I can get control of myself. Okay. Verse number 18. Okay? Acts chapter 8, sorry. Verse 18. Chapter 8, verse 18. And we're going to go down. You know what? I'm not going to read the whole thing because it'll lead me somewhere else. If I read, it's going to lead me to another knowledge base, okay? So I want to stay on task. Let's read verse number 23. For I perceive, and this is now in the context of how this person wanted to have power. Money was the influence here. And think about it. The drive of most people in our day today is having things, which is, I'm not opposed to the things. It's good to have, because having allows for you to be what? A blessing. Remember, my God shall what? Supply all your what? And that has to do with what? Seed. Need is supplied through seed. What is the seed? It's the gift. It's what you are, what God made you to be. That seed generates supply for the need. If you do not sow, you're not going to reap. So here's the thing. This is where a lot of Christians get jacked up, because they assume that God does everything for them. You have no choice in the matter? Do we not have a choice in the matter? Who controls how your body looks today? It's a very easy example. The God doesn't control it, because if He did, we would be better. We'd be in a better place. Well, I'll speak for myself then. How about that? I would be in a better place, because it's a matter of choice.
Yes.
It's you making a decision. But how hungry are you? How much do you want this?
Yes.
What's your drive? What's your motivation? What's pushing you? What's getting us off of our backside? What's burning your backside to get it up and get moving? Right? But what happens is we get caught up in this mess. Emotional wounds. Here's what this phrase says. For I perceive that thou art in the gall of bitterness and in the bond of iniquity. New Living Translation says this. For I can see that you are full of bitter jealousy and are held captive by sin. What is sin in definition? Missing the mark. Unfulfilled purpose. When you're not fulfilled in your purpose, what happens to you? Someone else starts guiding you. Someone else starts leading you. And I'm not talking about God either.
Yeah.
You start succumbing or subjecting yourself to other people's opinions.
Yeah.
And that's not how we should function in life. It's okay to receive counsel, and it's okay to receive input. There's nothing wrong with that. But you are your own person. How many of you want change?
Yes.
But how many of you want to do the work for the change to happen? Because change is not automatic. Change is very uncomfortable because we're so comfortable. We get used to even negativity, guys. Emotional wounds. We get caught up in it. So I'm not saying to live in denial about what you face in life, because you know the fact is that is there. Remember, the negatives and positives, you're going to be contending with those until we receive a glorified body. Till Jesus comes back. So in the interim, you have to face these negatives straightforward. Not every negative is supposed to be a negative for you. Negatives are going to come along in life that are going to make you do something. It's not the best way to do it, but it definitely will be a motivator. I'm telling you, I remember $720 a month. It's like there, that wound is right in my head. For 5 years of my life, I was committed to that loan. $720. I could have had a BMW driving for paying $720 of that. Even today, I could probably. This is what, 20 years ago. I gotta let it go. Let it go, Gilbert. That's where. Look at who is your worst enemy? Not the devil. The devil's defeated. All he does is feed on like flies on mess. These little demons like to jump in on all those emotional wounds. That's why, because okay. Now here's what I want you to think about this. Just use your imagination. What happens? Let's see if you youngsters. Okay, this is right here. This is the pool right here. All right? There's no running water into it. There's no running water into it. There's no care to it. Here is a perfect analogy. In life, we have mad jalapenos and mild ones. Yeah. So here, I'm going to give you the background to this. This is literally a proven fact that mad jalapenos, which means they are very spicy jalapenos, and mild jalapenos, what's the difference? How does that happen? It's the same vegetable, the same plant. You want me to tell you the way that happens? One is watered and nurtured and the other is not. Which one is not? The mad one. That's why they're spicy. That's the way our attitudes can be sometimes, a little spicy, because there's not enough nourishment, or there's not enough watering. And it's the same thing with a cesspool that's lying dormant over time. You know what develops in it?
Life.
Yes. What kind of life? Fungi. We get that algae, and all these little creepy things start growing inside of there, right? You let it sit for a little while. I just had a recent experience with that. in 3 different arenas. If you have the water sit still, what happens? Things begin to grow. Don't think that things will not grow. Things grow. Whether you like it or not. Things will grow. This is why you as an individual, this right here is called your mind. And think, if you really think about it, you know, Romans 12 says, who's supposed to take care of your mind? Who's supposed to take care of that thinking? You are. You have to guard it. You have to take care of that. You're the one. And here's you look at, if you don't have a library in your home, how are you going to be viewed? If we walk into your house and you have no library there, how will you be viewed as a person? Will I be able to gain from you? The assumption would be no. Okay, I would use other words, but because we have young people here, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to feed into their minds. Being very mindful of it. Okay, so here, think about it. If you have a library, at least you have one and you can at least look smart.
That's a secret.
Take the time to read. But that's what is necessary. Think about the age, the years that go on in life, and if we are not maintaining our minds by thinking, so that's that ingredient, something that's going to not thinking this like what you're used to already. Like if I ask you, quote me a verse you're working on right now. A verse, you know what I mean by working on, that you're memorizing and that you are now speaking, that it's new to you, not going to Jesus wept. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a verse you are working on. If you're not working on a verse, then you are not working on you. That's just one verse. So, do we want to keep our minds from having an accumulation of things that are not supposed to be there? Don't we want to keep our minds from that? The only way you're going to do that is you have to do an exchange. Let's look at this, because this is not in my notes as well. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Yeah. Okay. So, let's look at verses 3. And I have to read from the original King James here because it's not letting me go to... it's not letting me use that New Living Translation. That's fine. I know it is. I can bring it up on my phone. Let me bring it up on my phone, guys. Okay, 2 Corinthians chapter 10. One second, bear with me a minute. And we're going to read from verse 3 through 5. Now, what I want us to keep in mind is that many times people assume that strongholds are demons. They may be motivated by demons, but they're not demons. What this is in reference to is the way you think. So 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 3 says, for though we walk, or let me get New Living Translation. Bear with me just a second here. I'm sorry. Here we go. All right. I'm going to read from New Living Translation. We are human, but we don't wage war on humans as humans do. But look at where people are. Who do we wage war on? Who are we waging war on in reality? Come on, be honest, guys. Yeah, you're fighting you're fighting people around you, your spouse, your family members. That's who you're fighting with. And if we're so used to this physical realm, which is where the enemy wants to keep us focused on the temporal, then what happens? We get misdirected. And now the energy is put out for a lot of things to try to make yourself pleasing to that person.
Yeah.
Who should we be pleasing, guys? And what is it that pleases God? Faith. Faith pleases God. Why? Because it is not hypocritical. It's the same all the time. It allows for you to be strong enough to be the same all the time.
Yeah.
Consistency. And you stay in that place. Yes, it opens the door for obedience. But see, you got to keep that in mind, that it requires something that you already are born with. Do you all have faith?
Yeah.
Think of people that are not saved, that don't know the Lord. Do they have faith? Yeah. Because who made them? God did. What's missing is what's missing? The Word. Principles of the Word. You get a witness on that? Yet the principles of the Word is not in their life, so what are they going to live by? By what they see. That's called sense, knowledge, faith. Which, nothing wrong with sense, knowledge, faith, because everyone, I don't think anybody here, saved or unsaved, reads their Bible with their eyes closed. You have to use your eyes. You got to use your senses. You ever heard that expression? Use your sense.
Yeah.
Use your good sense, right? Okay, so we're not fighting against flesh and blood. That's the battle. That's where we have this conflict. But I guarantee you, there are spirits involved with what you face and what you do in life. They want to stop you. Okay? But we also have a great spirit that lives with us. He is called God. And if God is for us, who can be against us? Greater is He that is in me than he that's in the world. Are we not world overcomers? Yes, we are. Okay, verse 4. We use God's mighty weapons. What is His weapon? What is a weapon, period? And we know this from Revelations chapter, I think it's chapter 3, verse 16. It says that they use the sword of their mouth. The sword of their mouth. What is a weapon, guys? What is our weapon? Your words. It's what governs everything that we do. All these little numbers and letters, all these little things control you. Something's controlling you. Words. Words are powerful. What does Proverbs 18 say to us? That death and life are what? In the power of the tongue or words. So when you start to speak, don't speak discouragement. Don't speak disappointment. Don't speak judgment. What you're judging, what are you judging, guys? Because we're always judging something. Continuously. So who should you be judging? You. Discern that. Feel it. Sense it. Adapt to it. Be flexible. Be changeable. Be willing to change. Okay? So when we use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons. And what's the world consist of? Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life. Pride says, I don't need God. I can do this on my own. And that's where that balance has to come into play, guys. Because you do have a part in this. But remember this. Nobody here created the earth. Anybody for however long it's been. You're not your own source. You have a source. God is your source. So we're in God, okay? So we look to Him. We trust Him. And everything that's here is intended for it to be a blessing. To bless our lives, right? So say, I'm a blessing. Going somewhere. To be a blessing. Amen. You believe that? So not worldly weapons. To knock down the strongholds. And here I like this. Of human reasoning. Do you hear that translation? New Living Translation. To knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments. And forget everyone else's arguments, your own arguments. Arguing with yourself. You must be solid within you. And remember what Jesus said about the parable of the sower? He said the one that had no root in himself. What happens? Then other things come in. Other things come in if you have no root in yourself. And we're talking about having root in who you are in relationship to God. Are you a believer? Yes. All right, let's go to Hebrews chapter 12. And we're going to read this from verse number 12. And let me know when you're there. All right. Verse number 12. And I'm reading New Living Translation. He says, so take a new grip with your tired hands and strengthen your weak knees. Mark out a straight path for your feet so that those who are weak and lame will not fall, but become strong. I really like this translation. Work at living in peace. Look at this, guys. This is where the work is. Here's the work. Work at living in peace with everyone. Everybody say everyone. Everyone. Say it again. Everyone. Say it like you believe it. Everyone. Say it like this. With everyone. Everyone. How many people are left out of that? Live in peace with who? Everyone. Everyone. And work at living a holy life. A holy life. This is now verse number 14.
Okay.
Verse number 14, sorry. I'm just reading along the word, and if you follow along in your Bible, you may be living a holy life. What's a holy life? What does holy mean? What does that reference to? I know it sounds religious, but it's not religious. Yeah, I like that definition. Elevated behavior. Holy, elevated behavior, and that, in a nutshell, that covers it. I don't need to say any more. Can't make that better. Work at living what? An elevated behavior. And a lot of you know what where a lot of Christians, I think a lot of believers sort of miss it, is they assume God's going to cover all their bad manners. And people live, Christians, and I'm talking to nobody else, I'm talking to Christians, have bad manners. Even when it comes to sharing the Lord with somebody, you wouldn't do that in as a whole, like just interrupting somebody and just start just telling them, you're going to listen to me. If you don't listen to me, you're going to die and go to hell. Where's the manners? Should there not be manners that we practice on a daily basis? And that's like a common kind of thing, right? Shouldn't that be something we have? This has nothing to do with taking the Anglican concepts and making them part of our culture. Yeah. No, it has to do with honor and respect. Yeah. Honor and respect. Who do we honor and respect? God. Yeah, first God, and then who's made after His image. Hey, do me a favor. Right now where you're seated, I want you to honor and respect the person next to you right now with a word. Do it right now. Do it right now. Do it right now. Think about it. All it is words, right? Isn't it just words? Can you say, I love you? Now turn to the person next to you and tell them, I love you. And just think about it. They are simple things that if we do not do, and I'm telling you because me and my wife are in constant check with each other about how we treat each other. She checks me, and I don't really get to check her. Just she checks me, and I get checked. That's it. Here's the thought for husbands. I'm going to go husband on you. Okay? Husbands can feel used. I hit a button there. Husbands can feel used. I'm telling you, men can feel used. Because why am I here? Am I here just to provide for you? Yeah. Am I here just to give you a roof over your head? Am I here just to make sure there's food on the table? And then after that, nothing else. Men feel used. Men, if you be honest, don't say nothing. But because, you're going to go home after this with your wife. But you could feel used, and you could say that, and it could have some legitimacy to it just simply because of the way it appears. But where are men supposed to be, guys? At the bottom. They're supposed to be stepped on. They're supposed to be used. Oh yeah. That's the foundation. And what happened is men are supposed to be at the head, and where do females go? Yeah, you listen to me. You submit. Period. Men are supposed to be at the bottom for the female to stand on. Give them something to stand on. Give your wives something to believe. Give these women in our lives that we come across some strength. What comes with that? What makes a man strong? Not his physical muscles.
Love.
Definitely. Love's got to be there. So what makes a man strong? Love. What else, guys?
Faith.
Men? Faith. What else? Kindness. I love it. Anything else? Respect. What makes him strong? Huh? Encouragement. Now we're talking about the way a man should be, right? So he's supposed to be strong mentally, emotionally. Because if a man is not strong mentally or emotionally, how is he viewed? Women, be honest, being weak. What'd you say? Wow. I'm gonna be praying for you. I'll be praying for your husband. You got some years to go. The point being is that strength comes because of a man being able to be strong emotionally, and the way that's projected is by being decisive, making decisions for life that are going to impact the family. Because all those little things, all the little habits that we allow into our lives, is going to carry on into other people's lives. You cannot assume that you're going to get away with something. Whatever's there, it's going to be manifested. It's going to be seen. It's going to be known. And that's the importance of this, guys. We have to stay in this place of being able to control what we allow into the pools of our mind, so we're not negatively impacting other people who come along in life. Other people that we're going to be in relationship to. And of all the things, and this is why did God make man? In the first place, why did he create Adam? Was he because he was lonely? Is God lonely?
No.
Why did he make man? Yes. Family. More like the way it is in the Matrix. More of me, 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 me. That's in the movie. And not talking about a selfishness. We're talking out about God's heart as a father and who he is to us. And as a father, he won't, in order to be a father, you got to have a family. You're not a father until you have babies. Right? We have potential fathers, potential mothers, but it's not activated until that happens. The point being is that God wants us to be fulfilled in who we are, right? Okay, so now let's continue reading. Where are we at? Verse number 14? Okay, he says, work at living in peace with everyone, and work at living a holy life, for those who are not holy will not see the Lord. And I don't want you to think of it as if you're not going to go to heaven. But what you will not see is you will not see the Lord working on your behalf. You're not going to see that. Because why? What happens with... okay, let me get to the remedy, because I don't want to leave you without the answer. Okay, so here's a few more definitions, because I do want to read this. I'm going to finish reading this, but I want to give you some definitions to the word bitterness. This is an actual definition from the Greek. Extreme wickedness, a bitter root, and so producing a bitter fruit, bitter, hatred, acridity, especially poison. And that's why I was saying that if this is not tended to, it can become poisonous. Because we read this in Romans chapter 4, where he talks about your words are like the poison of a snake. Yeah. And if you really think about that analogy and how Paul used that, he's talking about your words that are not giving life. They're tearing people apart. So, the good old adage, if you don't have nothing good to say, then don't say nothing at all. Let the seed die. Let that die out, okay? So, acridity is the quality of being sharply disagreeable in language or tone. And you know that we communicate in word, gesture, and spirit, right? We communicate with attitude. The means of communication is really the attitude. the spirit behind it. So you may say kind words, but they still will be if the attitude is wrong, it doesn't carry the same clout. You know, I do love you. Don't you know that? I do love you. Do you hear what I said? I told you I love you. Don't you hear me? Well, that tone definitely doesn't carry the spirit, the right spirit behind the words, I love you. Right? I have to at least show a smile. You know, I do love you. And be a little gentle. Right? But there's something about the attitude, the spirit. It's the means of communication that has an impact, a direct impact on that person's life. Babies know it. I'm going to take a little baby right there, take her and bring her up here, and I just hold her in my hands. Indy. Hi, baby girl. What are you doing, baby girl? How's it going, Indy? Well, think about it. Look at the facial expression. Now, if I started getting on her case, what happens? It changes. And we lose that sense as we go on in life because of expectations. You're a grown person. You're supposed to treat me right. You're supposed to be respectful. You're supposed to love me. And rightfully so. But as the saying goes, 2 wrongs don't make a right. You got to be right. Don't wait for the other person to change, because that's not going to happen, because you can't do it. You change. Right? Okay, so holding on to bitterness can affect, and remember I talked to you about this a little bit, can affect your metabolism, immune response, or organ function, and lead to physical disease. This is now scientific study. This is an emotion, a feeling, wounds, hurts that you have in your head that you dwell on. When you rehearse these things over and over and over, like I said about the $720 month payment. I could go on with some other things that I've gone through, but I'm putting them behind. And I'm continuing to move forward from where I am today. Keep on pressing toward the mark. And think about how does God plan things? Does God plan things? Yes, plan of redemption. And if God plans, why are we not planning? You got to have a plan. If you do not have a plan, how many of you want to lose weight? You want to get rid of weight?
Yes.
How many? Come on, raise it up there. Okay. How about get in better shape? Well, because you can have some thinner people that will say, I'm not overweight. But you do want to get better shape. Okay. Do you know it will never happen until you have a plan of action? Have you written it? Wrote it out? Written it? Have you wrote it out? If it's not written out, you're not going to do it. You know how I know? By experience. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now let's talk about how do we overcome how we're despitefully used, because that is exactly what is transpired when we talk about bitterness. Bitterness comes because of how you're used. I don't think anybody likes to be used. You know the expression used? But I'm saying used in a negative sense. Because then you feel like you're being abused. If you're being used, you feel like you're being abused.
Yeah.
Well, we want to rid ourselves from that mental block. So, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, I'm going to stop with this reading here. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33. It says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints." So God is the God of what? Peace. He comes to give us peace. And when things are peaceful, what happens? Everything starts to produce. Something about peace, and if you look up the word peace, it has to do with everything provided for and nothing lacking in any area of your life. All right? So, this word peace is where we're going to start off next week. All right? So we're going to stop here. And I want to thank you for taking the time to join us, and we do appreciate you being a part of our service. If this message has been a blessing to you, I trust that you're gonna receive from what was said today. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe, click the bell for reminders, and like on YouTube, what you're watching on right now. So thank you. If you want to give to our ministry, you can use Venmo, and you can give through that channel, tithe or offering, however the Lord leads you. So thank you again for watching. We'll see you next time.